Welcome to The Art of Medicine, the program that explores the arts, business, and clinical aspects of the practice of medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Andrew Wilner, and my special guest today is Dr. Christopher Loo. Dr. Loo is a very interesting guy, financially independent when he was still in his 20s. He has become an entrepreneur, and he's willing to share his secrets with me and with you, and I can't wait. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Comp Health. If you're a physician looking for a new job or considering locum tenens for the first time, be sure to check out Comp Health. I've worked locum tenens with Comp Health. I appreciate the personalized experience I have with my recruiter, who is dedicated to my specialty and knows my needs and goals. Comp Health also offers full-time, permanent jobs if you're looking for a longer-term switch. For more information, check out comphealth.com. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Christopher Loo. Welcome, Dr. Loo.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for that wonderful introduction. And I know we had a really engaged discussion in the backstage. So I'm happy to be on the podcast and hopefully share my knowledge and wisdom and my story to your audience.
Right. Well, we only have 15 minutes, and I know I could talk to you for at least the entire morning. So I want you to choose. First, tell us kind of how you got to be the guy that you are, in not in 25 words or less, but maybe 2 minutes, because I want to make sure we get to those financial tips about being independent, which frankly I have not achieved. So I'm looking for some free advice.
Sure. Well, I have an interesting background and interesting story. And I grew up on the cusp of Gen X and millennials. So for me, my motive and my passion was always about freedom and quality of life. So from an early age, I was always trying to be independent, and, not depend upon, government or my parents. I wanted to do it on my own. So the predominant way of thinking of financial freedom in the 80s, 90s was you got a high paying job, you join the corporate world, you worked 40 or 50 years. And so I did all of that. But the interesting thing was I'm always an entrepreneur at heart. So I was seeing all these, my friends and colleagues reach financial independence and financial freedom earlier, either by investing or either by starting companies, starting new ventures. So I was torn. I got into my first choice medical school at Baylor. I was part of the MD PhD program. And so I saw two contrasting worlds. One was where physicians, they went to work every day, saw their patients, operated. In another world, which was my PhD world, which was at Rice, where a lot of entrepreneurs, scientists were starting companies, were commercializing their ideas, were changing the world and developing these new products and innovations. So I got to see that firsthand, and I really resonated with that community. So I was able to network. I was able to sit in with a lot of the MBAs. I got a lot of interesting mindsets and interesting tips. So during that time, during my graduate studies, I started two companies. One was trading options. So this was during the boom of 2002 all the way up to about 2006 or 2007, before the entire market crashed. So I was making very, very good six-figure profits by trading options. And I was very conservative in the fact that I didn't misspend that money. I really invested it in equities. I learned about real estate. I bought gold during that time when it was severely undervalued. So by 29, I had a nest egg. I was able to teach myself about financial independence. I had rental properties, all of this while I was in medical school. So an interesting story was fourth year medical school, had decent grades, really excellent USMLE scores. And I graduate, we have to talk with our dean. And he goes, what are your plans? So I told him I have these investments, and I was able to generate a full-time income. And he told me to go the safe traditional route, which was to get into a competitive specialty, train for 6-7 years, work for a number of years, and then do what you wanted. So I took that advice and I matched into orthopedic surgery. It really went against my values and beliefs, who I am as a person. And I really saw the contrasting differences between corporate medicine and academic medicine. So I really loved academic medicine. I was able to learn, study. I loved the environment. I loved being around smart people. Uh, but I saw residents and attendings extremely miserable in the corporate world. So I got extremely curious as to why this was happening. And it was boiled down to loss of autonomy, loss of control over physicians' time, money. And so a lot of it was dictated by businessmen, bureaucrats, politicians, the government, insurance. So it had nothing to do with patient care. It had everything to do with profits. And I didn't like this system, and it went against everything I believed in. So, and to top it off, this was during the September of 2008. And if you remember, then that was the day that Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. So I saw corporate America, the greed, the excess, the corruption, and they basically fleeced the entire world for billions, if not trillions of dollars based on their mistakes. So I didn't like this and I didn't want to be part of it. So I took a leap of faith and I set out to become an entrepreneur so I would be able to create my own freedom, my own success. And I started investing in severely undervalued single family residences. So long story short, 2008 to 2016, I was a full-time entrepreneur, really learning how to hone my skills as an investor and entrepreneur. And by 2016, my mid 30s, I was a multimillionaire. So I was able to retire early. And so in I actually, it was interesting because 2016, I had all this success and I had all this time. So I decided to travel the world to places such as yourself, Southeast Asia, Latin America, Europe, and I really immersed myself in learning about digital entrepreneurship. So, people were using social media, websites, digital products and services, marketing and advertising, and I surrounded myself with the best minds and studied YouTube and podcasts to learn how to create a digital business and how to create a brand. Because quite honestly, a year off and you have all this time, there's only so much, hotel or travel or beaches you can. After that, it gets extremely boring. You have to have a passion and a purpose. So I spent a year studying as a digital nomad, and I came back and I started Financial Freedom for Physicians. And back then it was only an idea. I just wanted to show and teach physicians that they could achieve financial freedom, so that mainly they would have more control and autonomy over their time and income and their quality of life, so that they could continue to practice medicine. And it's grown. So I started writing 4 books. I started speaking. I've been on the SEEK conference, Peter Kim's Passive MD conference, White Coat Investors. I've written for Doximity, MedPage Today, SoMe I spoke at FinCon. So it's really grown. And what's interesting was my passion was to really just so that physicians could have more autonomy and control. But a lot of physicians are now starting their own companies and their businesses, and they're doing things outside of medicine. So that's been really wonderful to see, and to see the fruits of people such as yourself and all of our collective efforts, so that we can empower physicians, that they can take back control. So that's my story in a nutshell, and I'm happy to go from there.
Wow. Well, thank you. We've talked before, but I never sort of had the whole picture of how this guy got to be where he is. So certainly very self-motivated, willing to put in the work, and willing to. I think that expression is like dance to a different drummer. You saw what everybody else is doing, but you didn't say, "Oh, I've got to do that because that's what everybody else is doing." When I was in training, I think every ounce of my energy was just devoted to trying to figure out how to be the best doctor I could be.
Mm-hmm.
It never really dawned on me that there were other opportunities other than studying, and
Mm-hmm.
I figured, well, financially, I'll just earn what I can earn. And but those days were different. Doctors were treated differently. I think relatively speaking, they were a little higher income than they are now. The plumber didn't make more than the doctor. It was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit different. and that was never a priority. But I think, today times are different, and doctors in many cases uh, have become a commodity
Hmm.
and viewed interchangeably. And, when I researched my book about locum tenens, which has grown enormously, it used to be, why would you want to work here and work there? It was looked upon with some disdain. And now there are over 50,000 doctors working locum tenens. And I saw there, it's all about data. In 2016 was the first time, you may know this, that more doctors were employed than
Hmm.
self employed.
Yeah.
It used to be, as a physician, you had your own building, right? You invested in your office building, and then you paid yourself rent, and you developed your brand in your community. And that
Hmm.
was kind of a lifetime investment typically. You didn't bounce from here to there. But as soon as you became an employee with a 1 year contract, which is what I have, you know, it's there's not that same sense of putting down roots because the loyalty it's not built in. It certainly can occur, and I'm very loyal to my institution. I think it's wonderful, and I hope it's mutual, but it's not built in the way it used to be.
Hmm.
So, who is your target audience? Me, for example, am I too old to learn anything from you? Is it too late? Or who are you trying to help?
Well, my niche audience is physicians, and no physician is actually too old, or as a saying, you always, like, for example, a lot of my clients are I was initially working with mid to late stage career physicians um, before and during the pandemic, and this was a result of speaking in front of those types of audiences. Now that we have a YouTube channel, and we have a blog, and we have the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, a lot of medical students, residents, early career attendings are starting to come on as my client cohort. So that's really interesting to see. And I think it's a combination of one is demographics, two is just in terms of the timing. So a lot of, after the pandemic, it really um, made physicians wake up to the fact that they have to start thinking about their financial futures, and it may not be solely dependent upon their job, or so they start to think about that. So now that cohort is starting to come on the board.
So, just in case everyone in the audience doesn't watch till the very end, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. Number one way is go to my website, and we've done a lot of work to ramp it up and really scale it up. And so go to www.drchrisloo.md.phd.com. You can search for me on Google. It'll show up. It's the number one ranking site. We have our YouTube channel. We're really growing that out, and our podcast as well, Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. Other than that, I'm on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have a private Facebook community. So I'm on all the channels, LinkedIn as well. So, reach out to me, and we'll find a way to get in touch with you.
All right, so hypothetically, I send you an email, Chris. I'm not financially independent. I'm looking for financial freedom. Help. What happens next?
Well, one is first thing is we have we'll direct you to our podcast. We have right now 45, 46 episodes out, approaching 50. On YouTube we have over 100 videos talking about financial freedom. Our blog is over 50 articles. It's increasing. We're starting to produce 1 to 2 blog articles per day. So start with
Per
there.
day. Whoa.
Yeah, so we have actually a large backlog. So our editor is working behind the scenes trying to get it one to get up to speed. So um so from there, it start you subscribe to our newsletter, your email will reach out to you if you feel like. So we have three types of intro um calls. One is the 15-minute, very simple, tell us your story, see if we can develop a strategy. Some people need a little bit more after that. So we have the 30-minute and 1 hour. And then, if you want to work with us, we have group coaching and private one-on-one coaching. So it really depends. Like, for example, I had a client last week, 15 minutes. He's very financially savvy, business savvy. So all he needed was 15 minutes. Whereas, a recent client of mine, she's financially independent, but she's trying to reach financial freedom. So she's looking at all these different options, whether she should blog or podcast or do consulting or writing. So those take a little bit more time. We work a lot with mindsets as well, ideas about money, because it's surprising, but a lot of physicians, they don't have good financial habits, or they're just brought up around money in a different way. So it's really interesting to see those types of, and we try to work with them, their money mindset, and then we try to create a plan and implementation for them to start achieving. So first thing is, start saving a lot. So increase your savings rate, decrease your consumption. And from there, there's a lot of different strategies in terms of investing, real estate, equities, starting your own business, etc.
So balance the budget, number one. Right?
Exactly. Don't spend more than you earn. That's like the number one advice I can give, to the mass audience.
Yeah, I've heard that
Yeah.
advice before. I don't know. You hear these experts giving that advice, and it's like, yeah, I think that sounds right. But somehow that is a challenge for many people, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Surprisingly. Well, what I really appreciate is you're not saying that to physicians, leave that career that you work so hard, to develop and, become a restaurateur or, a venture capitalist. And because physicians do that, but you're looking at financial freedom as a way to support physicians in their chosen career so that they can ride out the bumps and be more selective where they work, and kind of turn the tables a little bit
mhm.
and say, when you can walk away from a deal, it gives you a lot of power. And when they say, you need to do X, Y, and Z, you say, well, I'll do X, but I'm not doing Y and Z. And they say, oh, no, you need to do it. They say, well, bye. I'll go where I can do X. That's what I want to do. And all of a sudden, you may find that, oh, that's okay. Is because now you have the upper hand because you don't have to have that paycheck that comes every 2 weeks. You can miss a few of them, without the repossessors hauling away the car and the house. So I think that's really important that people kind of underrate the power of that kind of financial freedom. So once again, tell me your website.
It's www.drdchrisloo.com. And if you have trouble getting there, just go to Google and search Christopher Loo or Christopher H. Loo, MD, PhD, and that my website is the top ranking site on that search term.
Yeah, I'll second that. In fact, just before we
Yeah.
went on the air, I searched you just to see what people were saying, and sure enough, you popped right up. So before we close, is there anything you'd like to add, Chris?
Well, thanks so much for having me on this podcast. It's actually been quite a journey, and it's from one idea, just financial freedom and empowerment, to doing these podcasts with yourself and others, and it's been so wonderful to see the community grow.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for sharing your expertise, and I'm sure that people who are interested in pursuing this further now have another excellent resource, and I want to thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Appreciate you having me.
Yep, thanks for being on The Art of Medicine. Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Christopher Loo for a great discussion and those helpful tips. I think he's a terrific resource, and you ought to look him up if you think he'll be helpful. And now, before we close, I'd like to give another thanks to our sponsor, Comp Health. At Comp Health, you can talk with a recruiter who knows your specialty and will actually get to know you and your goals. Consider starting your personalized job search at comphealth.com. Again, that's comphealth.com. Thanks for watching and see you next time. This program is hosted, edited, and produced by Andrew Wilner, MD, FACP, FAAN. Guests receive no financial compensation for their appearance on The Art of Medicine. Andrew Wilner, MD, is Associate Professor of Neurology at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, Memphis, Tennessee. Views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this program belong solely to Dr. Wilner and his guests and not necessarily to their employers, organizations, or other group or individual. While this program intends to be informative, it is meant for entertainment purposes only. The Art of Medicine does not offer professional financial, legal, or medical advice. Dr. Wilner and his guests assume no responsibility or liability for any damages, financial or otherwise, that arise in connection with consuming this program's content. Thanks for watching. For more episodes of The Art of Medicine, please subscribe. www.andrewwilner.com